And it passed unanimous. Thank you. So we'll move on now. We have a resolution to approve a budget amendment for the new health center building and renovations.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution offered by the Administration Committee, and as you're all aware, the architectural and engineering services of Horty Elving have been authorized and contracted for with the architectural and engineering firm. The design is well underway, and preliminary work in design and development for the health center is ongoing. Last August, the board authorized the amendment of the 2014 budget. That was in August of 2014. We amended the 2014 budget to allow for $200,000 initial expenditures for architectural and engineering services to begin the project, which began last September. And some of those dollars have been spent, a little over $100,000. We don't have a December bill from the architectural and engineering firm, Horty Elving. So the $200,000 that was approved in 2014, about half of that has been spent. There will be another bill, December's bill, that will be applied towards that that $200,000. What this resolution before you does is it's how I would describe it in layman's terms, and I'm sure that the financial and the accountants would explain it maybe in different terms, but this is how I would describe as an advance from the general fund of up to $1 million for continued services for the architectural and engineering and design and preliminary site development work, which will take place between now and when the final bonding occurs for the project. So in other words, what we will anticipate doing is in May of this year, you will have an initial resolution which will authorize the sale of $20 million of government obligation bonds for the health center construction project. Those proceeds, once the resolution is approved in May, those proceeds will be available to St. Croix County for actual expenditures in probably August. It's 60 to 90 days once the board authorizes the sale until the actual sale takes place. And so we will not have access to funds for the project until probably August of 2015. Between now and then, dollars will be spent on the project. Once those funds are available in August of 2015, the $200,000 that was advanced from the general fund in 2014 and the $1 million, assuming this resolution passes today, will be replenished. So there seems to be, because I've gotten a couple questions, is this million over and above the projected cost of the project of $20 million? The answer to that is no. This is not an additional $1 million for the project. It's an advance from the general fund. It amends the budget to actually legally authorize us to pay the architect for his services up until the time when we have the bond proceeds available to the county. So it's an advance with the anticipation that the bonding will be approved by the board in May, and the actual sale will take place in July, and funds available to the county in August of 2015. It's not additional dollars for the project. That's part of the 20 million, the 200,000 advance in 2014, and this $1 million advance from the general fund will be replenished with bond proceeds. So this resolution, if approved, will amend the 2015 budget to allow for up to $1 million of expenditures. Now, the question that also was asked, it's a good question, what if the board decides, that they're not going to bond for the project and that there won't be those funds available? Then those dollars that have been paid to the architect and engineering firm, those dollars have been spent. So those are dollars that we will have to absorb if that were to occur. That's just a what-if question, and it's a fair question because it's been asked more than once of me. I'm anticipating that that the board will proceed with the project and authorize the bonding. So, but this is a legal requirement. Our Corporation Council has reviewed this, and it's a legal requirement that we amend the budget to allow for legal expenditures with the anticipation that those dollars will be replenished to the general fund with bond proceeds.
Now, with that said, I would like a motion before we get into discussion. So, Supervisor Schockner, motion. Supervisor Novotny, second. And we have that. Now we're up to Supervisor Nielsen. Okay.
You may have noticed when I walked up here I had a little bit of a limp. I have a bad habit. I pretend that I'm a lot younger than I actually am. We just returned from a ski trip, and it used to be I could take a tumble and I could pop back up again, and I found that I can no longer pop back up again. At the January 6th Board of Supervisors meeting, I supported the resolution to authorize the revised health center project of $20 million. My vote in support of this resolution has apparently caused some confusion. I do not support the health center project. My support for the $20 million resolution is simply because the defeat of the resolution would leave the previous $15 million resolution in place. I believe that building a $15 million facility would be a greater financial risk, and thus, when given the choice between the two, I chose the one that would be less of a financial disaster for the county. On August 5th, 2014, the County Board passed Resolution 22 authorizing a collection of 2014 budget increases, including the expenditure of up to $200,000 from the general fund for the planning and architectural design costs for the new health center building and renovations of the existing building. At the Administrative Committee meeting on February 18th, a resolution was passed to submit this request to the Board of Supervisors, authorizing the amendment of the 2015 county budget to expend an additional $1 million for the same. The administration offered no explanation, and no one on the committee asked any questions. The motion then passed unanimously. We are not, as supervisors, doing a good job of oversight regarding the expenditures of the county. Did the county not know in October when we budgeted for 2015 that the $200,000 was not going to be enough? Here we are 2 months into a new budget year, and we have to approve a $1 million budget increase. If the administration's estimate of what it would require to develop the health care center facility was low by a factor of 5, how can we have any faith that the financial analysis for this project has any validity? At the Ad Hoc Health Center Construction Committee regular meeting on February 24th, legal counsel Scott Cox discussed a license issue with the project related to the Wisconsin Family Care reimbursements for CBRF residences. That is, that the facility, as planned, would be out of compliance. Mr. Cox intends to retain an attorney who is an expert in this field and stated that it would take several months before we had a definitive answer. Are we going to go ahead with this facility and risk not being in compliance and not being able to generate revenue from CBRF residents under the Wisconsin Family Care Program? The financial plan presented to us has forecasted that 26 of the 36 CBRF assisted living residents would be under this program. When the County Board approved the $15 million for this project on October 7th, we were presented with a one-page summary of the financial details of the project. That document was in error when it referred to net income of $496,400 per year. There is no net income in this financial analysis. The $496,400 should correctly be referred to as gross margin or operating margin. I asked at that meeting that this be corrected. But the same document was again provided to the supervisors at the January board meeting, still referring to net income. Is anyone confused by this? Are we being dishonest with the public when we continually refer to the net income that this project will generate? Did any of you know that we are building a dementia crisis stabilization facility that the leadership of this county knows will greatly exceed the needs of this county? And further, that it is the plan of this administration to fill these excess units with individuals who are not county residents? I don't recall the board authorizing any such regional facility. And county officials are referring to this dementia crisis unit as a regional facility. Isn't the job of the county supervisor to serve the residents of the county? How many county residents who voted for a new nursing home in the non-binding referendum some years ago do you think are aware of this? How many of you are aware of this? The County Board of Supervisors was told at the January 6th meeting by Larry Lester, the Whipsley accountant, that there is nothing like this in the state. The County Board was told the same thing on the October 7th meeting when it approved a resolution to pursue the building of the health center at a cost of $15 million. It was easy for me to establish that these statements are not true. When a skilled care facility in the county does have a dementia patient that is out of control and needs dementia crisis stabilization, I have learned that there are locations nearby that will accept these individuals, even though they do not use the term dementia crisis stabilization. There is no need to send such an individual to Colorado, in spite of what you have been told. Don't take my word for it. Do what I did and find out for yourself. Make a few phone calls. There are state programs to provide financial support to counties and municipalities building residential care facilities. However, we were told at the January 6th Board of Supervisors meeting the state would not provide support for a 50-bed residential care facility. Should we be asking why? The state would not be interested in helping the county with this facility. What upsets me more than anything else with this project is the projected occupancy rates, as well as the failure to do any market research to identify any other CBF or skilled care residences being planned in and around the county. Larry Lester, the Whipsley accountant, who presented the financial analysis at the January 6th board meeting, stated at that meeting, "I don't know when the last market study was done." Apparently the county does have a market study, but obviously it was not used in preparing the financial analysis. Mr. Lester went on to state that the skilled care occupancy rates were based on historical averages at the current home. This makes sense if nobody else is planning to build a facility in the area. However, the 40-unit CBRF occupancy rates were based on industry averages, and the 10 dementia CBRF units averaging 8 residences were, according to Mr. Lester, probably based on a discussion with Fred and Sandy. To forecast the occupancy rates, the number of individuals that will need this service must be estimated. But that is not enough to forecast occupancy. The average length of stay must also be estimated. I asked Sandy Hackemuller what the expected length of stay is in the 10 dementia units, and I was told she did not know. Well, I've done some research, and I think I have a pretty good idea what that number is. I am told that Medicaid allows for a maximum hold of a nursing home bed for 15 days when a resident is temporarily removed. Thus, there is a need for a stabilization facility to return the resident within that time. The administrators that I talk to of homes in the area do expect such a stay to be less than 15 days. Simple math tells you that to maintain a population of 8 dementia patients in crisis, when the average length of stay is 15 days, a new dementia resident would be required every other day. Now, wouldn't it be wise for us to contact elderly assisted living residents and nursing home administrators in the county and ask them how often this situation comes up? I did. The answers I got varied from at the most once a year to once every 20 years. Based on this, it appears that the entire county would generate maybe 5 patients per year for this facility. That means that this facility would be totally empty for 300 out of 365 days per year. Do you think my numbers are absurd? Is it not obvious that I have done more research on this than the county health services or the project accountants? Are my numbers more suspect than the numbers presented to you in the financial plan at the January 6th board meeting where Mr. Lester stated that the occupancy rates for the dementia care stabilization unit were probably based on a conversation with Sandy and Fred, and then Sandy's statement to me in an email that she had no idea what the average length of stay would be? Presbyterian Homes and Services is building a new facility in Hudson next to the Hudson Hospital. The facility will have 95 senior apartments, 46 assisted living apartments licensed as CBRF, and 19 memory care apartments also licensed as CBRF. The Anderson Corporation Foundation has contributed to this project. This facility will have 3 meals a day, a dialysis clinic in the house, a 30,000 square foot town center with a market, a bistro, a chapel, an auditorium, a library, a movie theater, a beauty salon, and a wellness center. Now, would someone tell me how in the world a new county facility is going to compete with all this that this facility has to offer?
Supervisor Schottner.
First off, I don't need to grandstand and walk over to the podium, so I'll speak from my chair. I do think the numbers are absurd, and to think that regionalization of a care facility is I don't remember the term you used, but to say that we are not to block out looking at a potential asset as how can others in the region actually use it, that would make bad business sense not to consider that. To not consider the impact that the dementia wing could have on Polk, Pierce, Dunn, when there is nothing in the area like it, that is something we should honestly consider. Now, as far as the funding from the state, considering that our current state political leaders have drove us into a $2.2 billion deficit, I doubt funding our small nursing home is on their priority of things to do. Considering that they're cutting $300 million from the UW system, you know, our nursing home isn't on their priority list. So to try to circumvent all of that and then say that this isn't worth it, the people of this county have supported it. We are working on ways to make it affordable, and also we are working on ways to continue a long-standing tradition that has been in this county, has been given to us by prior generations. And I view it as the same way as St. Croix Industries, and that tradition we gave up on. This one I will not give up on. So, as far as the resolution goes, what this resolution does is ensures that we continue on the path towards the creation. It is not saying that we are going to spend $1 million. It says that we have a limit of $1 million. And if we continue on the path, that $1 million, well, $1.2 million, will be reimbursed to the state. So what I view this vote as is, if we want to continue on the path of building this nursing home, then we vote for this resolution. If you don't want to continue on the path of building this nursing home, which is not going to be designed to challenge or take away from any other facility in this county, it's to supplement, because every single one of them has a long waiting list. Until that waiting list has disappeared, I view this as a necessity. So we're just continuing on the path. And if you don't want to continue on the path, vote against it. But if we want to, and we want to make sure that we're spending our money wisely and we're getting to what the people need, I see no reason to vote against it. So I'm for this resolution.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Osmus.
A couple questions for Bob, if I may, please. I don't think my questions are going to be as painful as the last time you were up here. The first question I've got is, what's the difference between the general fund and an undesignated fund?
Well, I'm not sure what an undesignated fund is. It's not, that is not itself one of the types of funds that are generally found. The general fund is undesignated in that most funds are designated for a specific purpose. The general fund is to carry all the activity of the county that's not designated within a different fund. So they are one and the same, really.
Okay, and with that, could you tell us what our balance is right now in the general fund?
Not right offhand, no.
Okay, thank you.
Got a good fund balance in it.
Supervisor Nielsen.
Supervisor Ossis, is that the one we're talking about where there's like 25 to 35% kind of a rainy day fund? Is that what we're talking about? And that's the one I've asked questions about before. And Tabitha has looked at me before and said, we're at 43%, and the counties want 25 to 35%. Yeah, and the reserve. So I think this money we're using here is just borrowing against ourselves. We have the money and to do it. And I wasn't I think with my head in the clouds, I'm pretty much knew that dementia was going to be regional because people have talked about it. It's been talked about. And I love these play on words. I listen to people talk, and I listen to what the professionals have to say. And then anybody can twist it any way they want and sit there and talk down to people sometimes and say that they know better. Well, really, we all have a voice. We all have one vote. So from the word go, I think we've been pretty much put in line on what's going on. And if you ever worked in business a little bit, you're going to find out that money flexes a little bit and stuff. You have to allow that. That's why we have those extra funds that we can maybe use that. That's called good budgeting. To give you the ability to do that. I support this resolution. I support this nursing home. And as long as I'm on this board, I'm for it.
Supervisor Berkey.
I wanted to point out and commend the ad hoc study committee, which is made up of representatives of county supervisors, lay advisory individuals from around the county staff. I know that many of these individuals appreciate and have practiced very comprehensive, detailed, nitty-gritty looking at every aspect and then some on this facility, and I feel good about that. I also support this nursing home. It is not a Taj Mahal. It is not the home that is being built here in Hudson. And believe me, there are a lot of people that will not be accommodated here in Hudson. We need to continue with a nursing home, and I would again vote very strongly in favor as we go forward with this facility that the general public has indeed voted on in more than one referenda to support. And thank you to the ad hoc committee and the Human Services Board for your tenacity and continuing with keeping this on the front burner.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Babbitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I respect my colleague, Supervisor Nielsen, a great deal. He obviously feels very passionately about the issues that he's discussed with us today, and I appreciate his willingness to stand in front of us and express those opinions as confidently as he has. I would just say, again, at the risk of repeating points that have been made before, the nursing home's been supported by St. Croix County residents for a long time. It's been voted on 2 separate occasions, and in my book, that means that we are doing the people's will here. Secondly, no question, this is a large project. It's complex. There are a lot of different pieces of it that require the work of the ad hoc committee in particular, but certainly the work of the HHS board as well. And I can guarantee you that there are similar programs throughout the state that are wrestling with the same issues that we are, and are not backing away from proceeding with projects. I would venture to guess that the new facility on the Hudson Hospital campus will have to tackle some of the same things that we will in terms of trying to determine the direction that the state is going. I think this is an important project. I believe that we, as a board, did understand that the dementia care unit was regional. I certainly did, and clearly others have as well. I think that is an innovative and unique program, and I will certainly ask Supervisor Nielsen at some other occasion to talk about the other sources that he has talked about in terms of where people can go. But my understanding is that the dementia care crisis stabilization unit will in fact be a unique facility, and that it will be utilized by our surrounding counties actively. So I would appreciate the ongoing support of the board and support this resolution.
Supervisor Ring.
Just have a question of clarification, or maybe a comment, that the resolution in front of us provides us a vehicle to make the expenditures that we're making as part of the total project cost be reimbursed for those expenditures that we now take out of pocket. So we are not, there is still a budget that's been set, total project cost budget of $20 million, and this is within that. It's not $1 million over the budget.
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then another comment, and I just want to second the Supervisor Babbitt's support of, I think, raising the questions that Supervisor Nielsen has raised is just, it's good. I mean, there are questions. I mean, even at the ad hoc committee, we still have questions about, okay, what is that market study? It's good, and I think good questions help just make it all better, and we should be able to answer these. The one we have asked at the ad hoc committee about the length of stay. It is a new sort of facility, so from what I've gotten, people could stay there up to 6 months. We're not drawing only from the nursing home population. It's just drawing from the population in general. So I understand people may be hesitant to say, they'll stay X amount of time. We have asked that. It's the answer. There's just not one you can pluck out of a book right now. But I will say, I think there was one comment was that people could stay up to 6 months, but that it is not drawing only from nursing home populations. It would be a service, and there have been conversations with other nursing homes who said that they had a need for that kind of thing. So, my thought.
Supervisor Nielsen.
I can support all the facts that I used in my presentation. And it wasn't very difficult to get those. If Supervisor Babbitt has a question about other facilities that provide this service, call any administrator in this county that has a dementia unit and get the answer. Everyone I called had the answer. Polk County has got a home in Amory. In that home, they have a facility called Judy's Cottage. Okay, they are equipped to handle these. If they cannot handle them, they refer them to the Amory Hospital down the street, which has a behavioral unit. The other is in Hastings. Region Hospital has a behavior unit. When I talk to an administrator in this county, oh yeah, they'd either go to Regions in Hastings, or we can go to this facility in Amory. You are not providing a service that is not already available. You're going to be competing with others.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Babbitt.
Again, with respect to my colleague Supervisor Nielsen, the inpatient unit in Amory is a mental health unit. I think the supervisors realize that Wisconsin Supreme Court decisions recently have mandated that an individual with a primary dementia diagnosis cannot be hospitalized psychiatrically. That is now considered against the law. So the Amory facility, at least the inpatient facility, can't admit someone with a primary diagnosis of dementia. Having said that, yes, this is a complex issue, no question, but there's been an enormous amount of time and energy spent, at least in my opinion, by very qualified people, including Fred Johnson and Sandy Hackenmiller. And I agree with Supervisor Nielsen that we need to utilize those professionals that we have access to as a board on these issues. And at least at this stage, I trust them. And am willing to support their work in terms of making a decision today on this resolution.
Any other discussion? If there's no further discussion, there's a motion on the floor and a second, and I'll put this resolution to vote. And it takes a 2/3 vote, so everyone knows it takes a 2/3 vote to pass. So if there's no further discussion, we'll vote on it now. You gotta confirm yours. The resolution passed. There was 3 no votes.
That's correct.
Correct.
Needed 13 to